Listen up. There's no more excuses. We're empowering those who want the hustle by exposing the status quo.
The days of ordinary are over.
It's time to crush mediocrity and start discovering your greatest potential.
Welcome to the Hustle Nation. To the Hustle Nation. To the Hustle Nation. To the Hustle Nation.
Welcome back to another episode of the Hustle Nation podcast. Today we have Matt Easton in the house. Matt is a catalyst for success in sales and business and life, having created sales coaching systems that have revolutionized the way people achieve business results. Through his businesses, universities, YouTube channels, Matt has helped people get better in minutes, where normally they had struggled for years, or in some cases, decades. Sales is hard. We all know that. But Matt Easton makes it a whole lot easier, more predictable, less stressful, and more fun. Let's skip the guesswork, trial and error, the never-ending cycle of trying to figure everything out yourself, and instead grow your sales with proven step-by-step system for closing the deal. Not hopes and prayers. We can resonate with that. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Dustin, Chris, man, thank you so much for having me. Big fan of the show. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. I can't wait to see if we can help the audience today simplify their life and career and business.
I love it. You got gratitude, you got simplification, two things we really love here.
Love it.
Matt, I've been following you on LinkedIn for a while. I love all of the sales energy, and that's what I'm going to call it. You have so much positive energy around sales. But before we get into that, tell the listeners a little bit more about who you are, your journey, and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah. So Dustin, before the show started, Dustin was telling me he grew up from a long line of insurance people, right? So that was kind of in his blood. I grew up from a long line of broke people. So a little bit different. My mom, best lady in the world. Shout out Gina if she's out there. She's born and raised South Boston. So she talks like Matthew, get a job. Her mom was an emergency room nurse. Her father, my grandfather, was a bus driver. And long story short, when I was a kid, there was an extended period of time where my mom was a single mom, raising two boys, my brother and myself, making, are you ready? Drum roll, $4,000 a year. And this was the 80s. So 4,000 went a little bit further, but not a lot further. So wow. Yeah, things were pretty tough for me. And I didn't grow up in that entrepreneurial background where, I had that encouragement. I had leadership. I had guidance, with your guys' principles. Nobody was telling me to work smarter, not harder. It was pretty much just a childhood, not to paint too doom and gloom of a picture, but I'm sure there's some folks out there listening that had a similar childhood. It was one of these where summertime came and you were bummed out because that's where you got your free hot lunch was school. But I'm not telling you that to have a sob story about my childhood. I'm telling you this story. The reason why I'm telling you this is there was a moment, a lot like probably a lot of our listeners and viewers out there moments. Maybe this will be a moment for some of them where like universe opened, somebody gave me an unlock code. And that moment happened. I was at home by myself, which broke kids were a lot because my mom worked at a church many, many hours during the day. And I was playing with a toy. I actually went and got it before the podcast. This is exactly what I was playing with. This is a I've kept it my whole life. 1979. It was one of my few toys. Matchbox Porsche Turbo 79. Kelly Green's the color. Yeah. And I heard this noise. And I looked up from the mud that I was playing in. Boom. Same year, same color. I don't know if you're religious. Don't care. Call it whatever you want to call it. The universe presented the exact car I was playing with in front of me. Wow. Yeah, you didn't, where I grew up, you didn't see this very often either.
Were you manifesting that?
I don't know. Well, we will never know. I'll find out maybe when I cross over why this was presented to me. But I heard the noise, I saw the car, and I did what Dustin would have done. Chris, I did what you would have done if you were broke and unsupervised playing with the car and you saw the car. I ran after it. And I was I was not 8 years old at the time, maybe 9, ran after it. And I knew kind of where it was going because there was an attorney that lived kind of in the proximity of where we lived. And that was the rich person. I was like, he bought a Porsche. Sure enough, the car was parked out in front of Mr. Carroll's house. And I waited thinking Mr. Carroll would come out. He didn't. A gentleman in a suit, right, kind of dressed the way I am in today, came out. And I did classic movie line, Mister, is this your car? Right? What do you do? Thinking he must be a drug dealer or something. Because that's what broke kids think. If you have a good car, you must be a drug dealer. And the guy was like, well, I'm in sales. And I was like, it just changed my whole life. I was like, not that, but this, what happened? I said, sales? He goes, yeah, I work for a company called Texas Instruments. I sell computers. And I said, that must be the best computer in the world. And here's where my whole life changed. Not because this guy was a scumbag or manipulative. He wasn't. Best salesman I ever met. Don't know who he was today. But he talked to me like an adult, and he goes, no, kid. He used bad language. It's okay if I use it. He goes,
yep.
He goes, it's a real piece of shit. It was a Texas, believe it was called a Texas Instruments TI, maybe a 99-4. And at the time, Texas Instruments could not sell any of those. And this guy driving this Porsche was their number one person. And apparently he's the only guy in the country that was moving them. And I said, how are you making money selling a bad computer? He goes, it's not the product, kid. It's if you can understand people's current situation, if you can figure out what's going on in specific people's lives, and even the worst product has one or two things that are really great about it. And he says, I'm the only person at the company that seemed to figure out that this computer will allow you to do what we call calendar entries. And by the way, this was big time in like 1981, where you could type away on a keyboard and basically kind of Excel before they had Excel. And he said, do you know anything about the gentleman that lives in this house? I said, yeah, Mr. Carroll. And he goes, well, do you know about him? And I said, yeah, he's an attorney. And he goes, what do you know? And I kind of stopped the guy and I was like, the twitching? And he goes, yeah, he has Parkinson's. And I knew he had Parkinson's. I was a little bit embarrassed saying it. Everybody in the neighborhood knew the guy had Parkinson's, right? Like we could see him twitching as he would drive his Volvo. And he said, listen, here's the deal, kid. Mr. Carroll's a great guy. He's a pretty successful attorney, but he's got a problem. With his Parkinson's, he's got to take medication at about 3 p.m. every day. Now, here's the thing. That medication stops his tremors, but it also stops him from driving. So his office is in Westminster, Colorado. So he has a choice. He can either leave his office at 2 p.m. every day and get home and take his medication, or he can take his medication at his office and he has to pay somebody to drive him to work and back from work. He said, here's what this computer is going to allow Mr. Carroll to do. It's going to allow Mr. Carroll to work all the way till 2 p.m., drive home, take his medication, and then do all the little things that he would normally have to do at the office, entering his calendar entries, taking notes, putting notes in a file for a client. He can continue to work on this computer at home, which, by the way, was earth-shattering at the time. Nobody had computers at home. Yeah. And he's like, we're changing his life today. And I was like, holy cow. Like, here's a guy driving a Porsche and told me that he sells a POS computer. And I'm like, so he must, because that's what I was brought up with, is if you're rich and successful, you must be a bad or evil person. And I'm like, holy cow, he's making Mr. Carroll's life better. Right. And I remember, and that was the first breakthrough. Here was the second. Because at the time, I had some undiagnosed visual problems. It turns out I had some muscular things with my eyes. It was dyslexia, but it was a neurological problem with my eyes. And I eventually got therapy and fixed all of this once I had my own businesses as a teenager. And but I said to the guy, I was like, man, that's cool. I would love to do that. And he's like, why don't you? And I was like, I can't do that. I'm not smart. Because everybody had told me I wasn't smart because I couldn't read. And he's like, never talk bad about yourself. And I was honest with him. And I was like, I can't really read and I can't really spell. And the guy was like, you don't need any of that to be successful. You just have to have the guts to talk to people like you did with me. And you have to care enough to help them. And then here's where, and you guys, I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm 50. You might remember this. He goes, and on the spelling thing, I've got you covered, kid. And he opened the front of this Porsche and he pulled out, this was the freaking hot toy. And I was a kid that this was like my only toy, a Matchbox car. Yeah. Hot toy of the time, manufactured by the company that he worked for, Texas Instruments, a Speak and Spell. Do you guys remember Speak and Spell at all? Vaguely. It was the hot thing, right? It had a keyboard on it, and it would show you the word, and it had AI. Well, no, but an AI. It had a robotic voice that would say the word, right? It would speak the word to you, so you could spell the word. And I was like, "This is so awesome! Thank you." So it was $79 at the time. That would be like, I don't know, $200 in today's money. I was like, "Thank you so much." And I made a smart ass comment. I said, "My brother's going to beat me up and take it." And he's like, "Hey kid," and as I was walking around, it was like a freaking Coke commercial of the day. He's like, "Hey kid." And I turned around with my Speak and Spell. He goes, "Come on back here." He opened the trunk and he gave me a second one. He goes, "Give this one to your bro and tell him to lay off of you." Never saw the guy again. Right.
That's amazing.
But from that moment on, I was like, wait a minute. I don't have to be born rich. I don't have to know how to spell. Right. I just have the guts to talk to people, and I have to care enough to help their situation. And so from that moment on, about 8 years old, I started going door to door, sweeping rocks. And then I was like, man, I need more of this mentor thing in my life. So I started seeking out everybody in Boulder, Colorado. I was unsupervised. I had a bike. The bus was cheap. I would go to businesses in Boulder, places like Celestial Seasonings Tea, and I would just literally show up at these businesses as a kid and be like, "Hey, do you guys want trash picked up in your parking lot? Do you want your weeds pulled? What do you guys need?" And they're like, "Well, we can't hire kids." And I'm like, I don't want any money. And this is where this is dumb luck, but I was really smart. I never asked for money. And I was like, I just want to be around, because I didn't have a dad at the time. My dad, great guy, he just passed. He was my stepdad. But he didn't come into my life until I was about 10. But I didn't have a dad, and I just hung around people that were inventors, managers, business owners. And that's where Easton University has come from, is there's little cheat codes. And we can talk about a few of them on this session today that I learned from these mentors as early as like 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, that by the time I was 16 years old, nobody knew this because there was no social media at the time. I owned Quality Publishing, which was the company that published government auction guides in the back of like Car and Driver magazine. Like when you look back, they're like, "Buy Porsches seized at government auctions." That was my company at 16 years old. And that's simply because of like meeting people like you, Chris, like you, Dustin, as a kid, and having this open dialogue with them. They're like, "Psh, what do you think's cool?" And I'm like, cars are cool, right? One day I'm going to get one, right? And they're like, "How are you going to get a car?" "Oh, man, I'd buy it at a government auction." "Why don't you make a guide to," like, these people just give flowing ideas at me, and to one of your practices, right? Take chances, learn from others. There's our TNRL and hustle. Mm-hmm. That's all I did as a kid. And it worked. It didn't. Now here's the thing for the listeners. It didn't work all the time, right? You only got to bat about like 8% and then have the fortitude to go, "Okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try a different iteration of this." And these businesses will work for you. By the time I was 20, I think I was on my 5th or 6th business, paid my way through college. And then because of my upbringing, I was the first person in my family to go to college. And of course, you need to work for a Fortune 500 company. So I worked for the big companies, big logos out there for a while, and then eventually came back to owning my own businesses. And now to where I'm at right now, full-time, eastonuniversity.com with the sales coaching. It's everything that I've learned from my mentors, everything that I've learned from owning my own business, a synthesis of all of the millions of dollars that big Fortune 500 companies spent on me for training. There's some good stuff in there, but there's also a lot of garbage and misinformation. Pulled all that out. It's all the useful. And that's why I think Chris following me on LinkedIn, it's just useful stuff, right? Like just useful stuff. And hopefully we can share some of that useful stuff right now on the podcast. But that's my life story, guys.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love it. I mean, there's so many things you just pulled out. It's where do you start? I mean, I think the most interesting thing to me is as you think about it from being a kid through all of that process, the thing that really resounded to me was the genuine curiosity.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like so many people we were talking a little bit of this before the show, right? There's so many people that believe, well, I got to go do what I love.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, look, we're not saying anyone needs to be miserable, but, the people that are most successful, they're genuinely curious about so many things. Right. I mean, you talked about the different paths you had. Can you just talk about, kind of that lifetime learner, that curiosity and kind of how that's allowed you to make these transitions?
Yeah. So, and I'll get, if I can, may I give you a specific life example of genuine curiosity and how it could take you from zero to hero in about 3 seconds? Yes. I used to have, I'm not going to do it because I've got a news interview with a major network after this, but I used to write back when I was at Fortune 500 companies. One of them was a little company a lot of people might not have heard of called ADP, that I went from. If you can survive there, you can survive anywhere. I went from in the third day of work, literally, it was the estimatics division. It was a side division of the company. I went from third day on the job to closing the biggest deal in the history of that division by this acronym I used to write on my hand called DANG. And DANG stood for, forgive my language again, dumb ass new guy. And I used to always remind myself that the value was in the DANG. And let me give you an example. So it's third day on the job, had a boss called, his name was Lance Price, scariest guy ever. The time I was not a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu yet. Lance was a good dude, trust me, but he scared me. He played tight end for Oklahoma University. He was a national champion. He's like 6'5", 260 pounds of pure muscle. And the company, not me, because I had only worked there for about 3 days, the company had scored a meeting with this guy that was one of the largest auto body collision centers. And that's what we sold software to collision centers in the country. Okay. This guy, Vince. And Vince lived in Colorado, which was my territory. And Lance was like so excited. He's like, man, I'm coming out there. We've never been able to close Vince. We've been trying to close this guy for 5 years. You're going to come along with me. You're going to shut up and you're going to learn. And this was before BlackBerries, before everything. Was so excited. Third day on the job. I'm supposed to pick Lance up at the airport. I go to the airport, no Lance, right? I wait, no Lance. And there was none of these, right? So I did what the old school people did. I went to a payphone and you could call into your corporate voicemail, and I call in, here's a voicemail from Lance. And he doesn't sound happy. And he's like, flight's canceled. Here's the thing. This was the biggest meeting our company had. You're going to go. Okay. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to reschedule the meeting. He's like, I'm going to repeat that. This is very important. I don't need you blowing this deal. You're going to reschedule the meeting, and then we'll figure out another time to meet with this guy and probably close him. So I go out there, spiky haired, skinny kid. I had a pretty cool car because I had owned my own business. I had this sweet little Audi. I pull up. I'm like, hey, I'm here to see Vince. And I wait, and Vince is late. I come into Vince's office, and he's like, who are you? And I'm like, hey, I'm Matt. I'm new. I'm super pumped up, right? And I remember I had DANG written on my hand because I used to do that, like always be curious. And he's like, you're probably going to reschedule the meeting because usually it's a team about 4 of you that come in. He's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I guess there's some issues with the airline. And I couldn't help. I was kind of looking over his shoulder, like I'm looking over Chris's shoulder right now. And Vince was like, what are you looking at? And everything from Lance's voicemail wanted me to shut the hell up and not say anything. But I couldn't do it because I was always curious as a kid. And I was like, there's this big glass window behind his desk. And his desk led out he was on the second floor, a giant auto body collision repair facility. I'm talking massive, 20,000 square foot, like the owner's box, right? Looked out. But there was one thing that caught my eye. And I was like, is that and it's so embarrassing, but this is exactly how it went down. I'm like, is that a spaceship? And he was like, what the hell is this guy talking about? He looks over his shoulder and he's like, what do you mean spaceship? And I got up and I walked over to the window and I tapped on the glass and I'm like, that it literally looked like a flying saucer sideways sitting in the middle of this thing with like people coming in and out of it that look like aliens. Right. And dumbass new guy, be curious. Right. And he's like, spaceship. I've never heard anybody call it that way. Even my grandkids. He goes, that's a jamming tunnel. And I wasn't dumb. Right. I knew it wasn't, but I kind of wanted to be a kitschy, but I didn't know what the hell I'm like, jamming? You mean like you guys get in there and you jam, like you play musical instruments? Yeah. He's like, how do you like those shoes? And I'm like, where are we going with this? And he's looking at my shoes and I just bought them and I'm like, I don't care about my shoes. He's like, great. Cause they're going to get destroyed. Follow me. If you've ever been to a collision repair center, your shoes are getting wrecked. Right. Cause paint and it's the worst environment for dress shoes in the world. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. So he walks me down there and he's like, I'm this is the first time anybody's ever asked me about this. I've got a meeting after this. I don't care. I'm explaining it to you. Son, this is a jamming tunnel. Okay. When you paint cars, the most expensive thing out here besides our labor is our cost of materials. I invented this narrow thing to where if you have a door or a fender, not a whole vehicle, this is a paint booth that is very small because you could spray a door in there, and what we call overspray, you don't waste any materials because it's not a huge environment for the paint to fly all around. And he's like, I invented this. He goes, this changed the industry. This saves, and I think it was 36% in materials cost on small paint. And I was like, oh my God, I started asking him all these questions. And it was like, he literally became my stepdad in 2 seconds, right? He was like, let me show you this. And he goes, let me show you another trick if you're going to start your own business. You see that guy over there? He's qualified for a frame machine. That frame machine makes us $76 an hour. See how he's not sweeping with a broom, right? And he started giving me all these tips on how to run a business. We walked back up to his office and my shoes were wrecked as promised, right? And he's like, listen, here's the deal, Matt. He goes, you guys have been trying to sell me for 4 years. You've come in and out of here with groups of people, with presentations, with all kinds of great stuff. You never cared. He goes, never once has anybody cared about my business the way that you've cared about. Okay. It's very clear to me that you care about my business, that you want to know what's going on here. And I get this because I tell it like it is. He goes, it is also very clear to me that you don't know what the hell you're doing as far as software or ADP. And I was like, it's my third day on the job. He's like, it is clear as a bell. It's your third day on the job. But here's what we're going to do here. He goes, you're going to go back to your office, wherever it is that you came from, and you're going to write up a contract. And we are moving our services, not for this shop, for all of our facilities over to your company with one thing. Number one, you have the people that design our stuff, put our stuff in, know what they're doing, because you don't. Number two, you oversee our account. I like to have, and I ended up using this word a lot throughout my career. He goes, I like to have one throat to choke. It's going to be yours. He goes, because you showed up here, you cared about my business. And I feel like if I have a problem, guess what? You're going to show up here and you care about my business. And I called my boss and I was like, yeah, so I know we had to reschedule it, but what we're going to need to do is do a contract. And he's like, what, a temp thing for what did you do? You don't even know. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm like, no, for all the facilities. It was the biggest sale. Like I literally became rookie of the year, day 3, just on that one sale. And it's all because, to the hustle points, right? I was ability to learn from others. Okay. I had the energy to enjoy my day, and I took the freaking chance, right? Like I talked to that person. And this is all stuff that I had learned from my mentors in selling, but I didn't even have to sell Vince. It's just being curious. Like if I could hire people for my business, that'd be the number one trait that I would hire from. And it is the number one avoided trait in job interviews. Like everybody talks about, what's your experience? And they spend 10 minutes talking about somebody worked at Starbucks, which has nothing to do with their brokerage or software company or whatever. See, ask that person, like, what do you want to know about our business? And if they can ask you questions, you can train them for everything else, right? Like I train salespeople that make millions of dollars a year. All of them are curious. I also train plenty of salespeople that make north of $500,000 a year. Some of them are curious. You can make $500,000 a year without being curious. You cannot make over $1 million in sales without the ability to stop looking at the world through your lens, stop looking at every deal as this is the same as all the others, and slow the hell down in the beginning. When you slow down in the beginning, right? Hey, Dustin, tell me more about that, right? Hey, because of the fact that you said you guys are having problems with this policy, can you give me a specific example of what's going on there? When you can stop trying to be the smartest person in the room and be dang the dumbass new guy or dumbass new gal, right? And don't make yourself look stupid, but when you can be curious and learn about that person's current situation and slow down in the beginning, these deals, I can teach them how to close on this call right now. You won't even need to know how to close on a lot of them because they'll close themselves, right? That's what's lacking out there is everybody wants to be so smart and nobody wants to take the time to ask questions and learn.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
I've always said that sales is very much relationship based, but when you get down to the core of it, if you're curious and you're asking questions, it leads to building and cultivating a relationship. So
Yeah.
there's more to it than just that, isn't there?
Yeah, 100%. And with all due respect, Chris, I'm going to push back on you in the relationship thing, just
Please.
for the sake of our audience. Okay. Cause I think that's one of the biggest misnomers. And I'm not saying sales is not relationship based. Okay. But put it this way. Let's say we were therapists, right? And we're helping people solve problems, because that's what salespeople do. They help people improve lives and solve problems. And you were a therapist and you just let that person come to your office, $600 an hour for this therapy session, and you just let them talk. And we're like, okay, Chris, see you later. Bye. See you next week. Same time. Right? This is where people get screwed up with the relationship stuff. They think sales is all about relationships, right? It's all about building that rapport. It is not. Okay. That's nice if that happens organically, but you are like, we teach certified master sales consultants, keyword being consultant. Your job in that relationship is to listen, to be able to say things like, hey, Chris, because of the fact that you said blank, I'd like to recommend blank, right? To listen, to diagnose, to synthesize, and then to make recommendations. Most sales reps out there, and this is why I hate it. We take the word sales, because it's like a 4-letter word, out of their title, and we call them relationship managers. And then we're like, man, I got to fire Dustin. What's going on with Dustin? Dude, he hasn't sold anything in 6 months. All he does is talk to this one account ad nauseum. And it's like, well, hell, what's his title? He's senior relationship manager. He's doing what the hell you told him to do, right? He's having a relationship. This is where we got to have a relationship, but more so, your job is to consult, meaning ask the right questions in the right way at the right time, listen. And this is where I hate all the other sales coaches out there. They're all trying to teach these tricks and gimmicks. They're not even listening to the answers. Listen to the answers, diagnose, and prescribe, right? And some of the time that prescription may be, hey, based on everything that you're telling me, we're not able to help you at this time. Like I coach my people to say things with honesty. This is not a manipulative statement. Dustin, listen, before we get started here, okay, this 20-minute meeting, this is not a sales pitch. This is not a demo. This is for me to, number one, I want to deliver some insights to you that are going to be useful for you, whether you do business with me or not. Number two, okay, I'm going to ask you some questions because there's some monster problems that we solve here at Acme, right? Or there's some monster results that we help our clients achieve. Okay. But third and most important, okay, if you can be honest with me during our 20 minutes here, what I will promise you is this: if this is not a fit, if I'm not able to help you solve these problems or achieve these results, I will be the first one to raise my hand and say, hey, I can't help you, and you will never have to throw me out of your office. Fair enough, right? Like this is where I want our relationships to be, is it's like, your time is valuable. Their time is valuable. They're going to get something out of it, whether they do business with you or not. And you're going to be honest with them and tell them if it's not a fit, which allows them, and this is the key, allows them to be honest with you, right? This is where all their sales training is so damn screwed up. And it makes me so angry is sales reps come in and pitch. And I'm so sure and certain that I can help you, Chris. And Chris is sitting back there going, well, he's got a nice suit. He seems to know what the hell he's talking about, but I don't know if he genuinely cares or doesn't care. And now they have to filter through it. And that's not a relationship, right? Although there might be some donuts or concert tickets exchanged or a lunch and learn, that's not a relationship, right? My definition of a professional relationship is, Dustin, here's the agreement that we have from the jump. Okay. Dustin's going to be honest with me. In reward for his honesty, he's going to get insights from me that McKinsey would probably charge him 6 figures for, which, by the way, I've worked with companies, no disrespect. I don't need them getting a sniper after me. They charge Forrester, McKinsey, they charge a hell of a lot of money. And most of your clients pay that money, right? You're going to get the type of McKinsey, a Forrester level insight from me without having to pay me anything. No retainer, no Harvard educated consultant in the room, right? And to that trade-off, okay, I'm going to reward your honesty. I'm going to also be honest with you, right? And I'm going to be able to tell you where I can help you, where I can't help you. And we're going to have that level of exchange. And now here's where the relationship needs to be jettisoned. And I can teach them how to close right now if you'd like, but also they need to move that to a close. They need to be NSO, next step obsessed. So every time I talk to Chris, I'm either closing Chris without pressure, where I'm setting a crystal clear next step of what's going to happen next. Okay. If you can follow that formula, Chris is going to be honest with me. In reward, I'm going to deliver insights to Chris that are valuable, whether he does a business or not. I'm going to be honest with Chris, meaning I'm going to be able to tell him if this is a fit or not. And the expectation is I'm also going to move this deal forward, right? This stops us from having these log jams in our pipeline, and it stops the Dustin relationship manager of the world from only having 3 accounts, right? Most people listening to this probably only have 30 opportunities in their pipeline or less. My system, if they learned mine or created their own like mine, I have 2,042, me personally, not my sales reps, 2,042 opportunities that I'm working right now. And I have a system that allows me to work over 2,000 opportunities because I set a crystal clear next step, right? And when I leave voicemails, it's not, hey, Dustin, Matt Easton with Easton University. Man, hope you had a great long weekend. Hope the weather's, I'm Dustin. Hey, Dustin, Matt Easton, founder of Easton University, as promised. As promised, it's 8:40 a.m. on Tuesday, calling to see if it makes sense to get the team on the sales coaching. I'm on my mobile 720-660-3202, right? And some of you may be like, oh, that doesn't sound very relationshipy. That's the best message most people can get, right? Because they can read it on their visual voicemail. They don't have to listen to the fluff. How's it going? How you doing? I'm just following up. I'm just checking in. I will deliver value to my clients every time I talk to them, but I will also not deliver bullshit to them. I'm not going to call them with fluff, right? And this allows me to work thousands of opportunities because I know once I leave that message for you, Dustin, depending where you're at in my process, my sustainable pipeline, I'm not going to call you back for another month or 2 weeks or wherever we're at, right? But I know specifically what the hell's going on with every one of my deals at every time. And if you called any customer I'm working with, they're going to be like, damn it, I learned something every time I talk to that guy. The same way Chris learns something every time he watches one of my videos, right? But at the same time, I'm taking control of the situation and being next step obsessed.
Matt, a lot of us have a bullshit meter, but when we're in the position where we're trying to sell someone or follow up, we just think, oh yeah, this will be great. I'll circle back. Let me check in with you. But when I saw that, does it make sense? I told you this before, but I tried using it in my personal life with my wife, with my kids, with my friends. Hey, does it make sense to do this? It just felt like it was direct to the point. And I don't want people to see me as a bullshitter, right?
Yep.
And people know that you don't care about their family or their friends. They know you're just trying to sell them something. So I love that approach. I think that's fantastic. But why is it online that so many of us think, or those are in sales, the other person won't see this as being spammy? They won't see this as being artificial.
Yeah. When you say won't see this as being spammy or artificial, can you give me a specific example of what you meant there?
Well, there's so many of us that will say, hey, how are the family? How are the kids? Or specifically on LinkedIn, I get a lot of connection requests and they go right into a sales pitch. And to me, not only is that spammy, but to think that I'm going to actually take a sales call from some random person I've never met. I don't know. That to me, that just doesn't seem like the right approach. That seems 100%. Artificial.
Yep, 100%. And by the way, see that golden nugget, Dustin? Did you see the golden nugget that I had? Can you give me a specific example? See how I got Chris to talk more, right? But let me unpack this because you just brought up 2 major things that we're going to change our listeners' lives for right now, okay? I'm going to teach them how to close after this, but first you brought up, this is free stuff right out of eastonuniversity.com, okay? Prospecting. Chris, here's your recipe. Are you ready? Here's why they're not successful, and this is why you get pissed off, as do I, when I get these either all fluff, how's your day going, right? At LinkedIn, I get people pay for a LinkedIn in-max. I don't know what those cost, 45 cents to go, how's your day going? Like I bill out at like $9,000 an hour. Great, thanks for burning $600 of my capital reading that, right? Block, okay? Or to Chris's point, so all fluff or all sales. Hey, if I could just have 5 minutes of your time, blah, 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 blah. Gross, disgusting, right? I don't know you. So let me give them the formula right now without them being members to the greatest club in the world, Easton University, right? They don't have to be a member to learn this. Are you ready for the formula, Chris? So prospecting formula, okay? You're going to reach out to a person. Most of the time, you're going to get their voicemail. You can do this in an email as well. Here's the formula, okay? Number 1, let them know who you are, okay? Hey, Chris, Matt Easton, founder of Easton University. Listen to my tonality. Smooth, powerful, not, hey, Chris, not slimy. Okay. If they want to learn the correct tonality, listen to the flight recordings from Sully Sullivan landing the plane on the Hudson. That's how you want to sell if you want to make millions of dollars a year, right? Would you like a runway at Teterboro? Engines out. Which engines? Both engines. Bird strike. Would you like to go back to Teterboro? Negative. Would you like to go to LaGuardia? I can give you any runway you want in LaGuardia. Negative. We're going to go ahead and land on the Hudson. Right? That's the tonality they want. Okay. So back to our formula for prospecting. I'm just going to make everybody 50 grand right now that listens to this. Okay. Let them know who you are. Hey, Chris, it's Matt Easton, founder of Easton University. Right? Hey, Matt, it's Dustin McClone, founder of Hustle Mindset. Let them know who you are. Okay. And then let them know how you're connected. So it sounds like this. Hey, Chris, Matt Easton, founder of Easton University. You and I are connected on LinkedIn. Okay. What if you're not connected on LinkedIn? You and I are both members of the whatever association. What if you're like, oh, well, hell, this won't work because I don't have any connection to somebody? Bullshit. Be open to new ideas. I manage all of our business operations for accounts in Houston, Texas. There's a way, if you guys use your dome for 3 seconds, that you can figure out a connection to somebody, right? So recipe, one more time. Step 1, who you are. Step 2, how you're connected. Now here's the gold that no other sales coach in the history of sales coaching has ever taught. No mini sales pitch. Know how you're doing. Know hope your day is going great. Let them know this. There's one thing in this world that everybody wants to give you. Do you guys want to take a guess at what it is? It's not their money. That's your first clue. Everybody in your world wants to give you this. It's not their money. What is it?
Advice.
Close. Go to my TikToks, go to my Instagrams at Easton University, right? Whatever it is that you want to go to. And you'll see this in the comments. I don't like your beard. I love your beard. You look like Jason Statham. You're ugly. Shave your beard. Everybody in this world wants to give their opinion. Everybody does. If you don't believe me, don't go to mine. Go to a Kardashian's social media and look at all the opinions. You're too fat. You're too skinny. You don't wear enough clothes. You should wear less clothes. It's disgusting, right? The opinions, we are in an opinion-driven society right now. You can use this to your benefit. Once you understand the rules of the matrix, you can break the rules of the matrix. So step 3 is this. Let them know you have an idea that you want their opinion on. It sounds like this. Hey, Dustin, Matt Easton, founder of Easton University. You and I are connected on LinkedIn. Hey, I've got an idea I'd love to get your opinion on. Can you call me on my mobile, 720-660-3202? Full stop, guys. Full stop. I just literally made the listeners so much money. Here's what they're doing right now. They are not leaving a message for Dustin because some jackass sales manager back in the day was like, dude, don't leave a message. Here's what you do. You keep calling the number again and again and again, and they'll think their wife was in a car accident, right? And they'll step out of the meeting. That is a great way to get yourself blocked, right? And then if you're going to take the time, your time's valuable to leave a message, leave a freaking message. But listen to the difference in this. Which one would you call back? Hey, Dustin, Matt Easton, you don't know me. But hey, I work with Easton University. We're the #1 sales coaching in the industry. I've seen you on LinkedIn, huge fan of what you guys are doing. Listen, I'm trying to set up a time where if we could just spend 5 minutes together, I'd love to show you how we can increase your closing ratios. Typically, most of our clients increase their closing ratios by 700%, right? So a 7-to-1 increase in sales. I'd love to just schedule 5 minutes of your time. I'm going to shoot you over an email right now, pal, to a link to my Calendly. If you could go, because, I don't like to do the work. I make my clients do my work for me. If you could go to my Calendly, pick up a time, we'll schedule a 20-minute time for us to talk, because I know you've got nothing better than to do 20 minutes with a random ass salesperson, right? By the way, this is what they're hearing when they read this. By the way, everything that I just told you was true. We do.
That was me
average.
10 years ago.
Yeah, that was never me, but I've worked with a lot of people like that. It's just because I had mentors at 10 years old that I watched people close huge deals and I never heard them sound like that, right? But the key point is everything I just said in that voicemail was true. You can go to Easton University and look, we have 1,000 video testimonials and people are literally like 900% improvement, right? But when I lead with that crap, even though it's true, even though it's facts, Dustin deletes the messages and blocks my number, right? In life, guys, I'm going to drop a cheat code for you. Okay. Whether it's getting a sale, getting a promotion, getting that first date with that person you fell in love with when you first saw her. My wife fell in love with her the minute I saw her. It's the hardest thing in the world to get a first date with her. In life, when you slow the process down in the beginning, you will speed up the result in the end. I'm going to say that because it's really important to learn. When you slow the process down in the beginning, you will speed up the result in the end. Okay. So here's the definition of slowing down in the beginning. Let them know who you are, how you're connected, and that you have an idea you want to get their opinion. Hey, Dustin, Matt Easton, founder of Easton University. You and I are connected through the Chamber of Commerce. Hey, I've got an idea I'd love to get your opinion on. Could you call me on my mobile 720-660-3202? I'm not saying every Dustin is going to call you back, but Dustin, if you heard that on your voicemail, or more importantly, read that clear, concise, read that on your visual voicemail, are you going to hit the number, call the person back?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's interesting because I get, being in my position, I get calls from hundreds of salespeople every week. Yep. And I actually talked to our sales team about the same thing. Like, I've never gotten a voicemail like that.
And now here's the thing. I'm giving you some free stuff right now. Okay. Yeah. And your sales team, not yet, hopefully down the road, they're not members to the greatest club in sales. They're not members to Easton University yet, but check this out. The recipe, show them a copy of this episode. The recipe for the email is the same damn thing. It is not PDFs. It's not 42 pages. The email is this. Dustin, Matt Easton, founder of Easton University. You and I are connected on LinkedIn. I've got an idea that I'd love to get your opinion on. Can you call me on my, it is word for word the same thing. Now I'm going to drop another golden nugget bomb. My members are going to kill me for giving you all this information. Guess what the subject line of the email should be? Want to take a guess?
I know it's not the F word.
Nope. Spammy. Yeah. None of this spammy 5 minutes of your time, growing your business, helping Chris Incorporated blow up. None of that. Oh my God. I can't believe I'm giving them this stuff for free. The title of the email, the subject line of the email, your first name, your last name, hard vertical bar, your mobile phone number, and then the word mobile. The title of the email is Matt Easton, 720-660-3202, mobile. Guys, I lay awake at night thinking about this so you guys don't have to. Yeah. An executive, a multi-million-dollar a year producing executive like myself. I'm sorry, I'm not bragging. It's just true. Dustin, you probably get this. Chris, I'm sure you get this as well. I get no less than probably 100 different emails a day. And it is all these subject lines that they're truncated. I can't, look at that. I can't even read them. I'm going through them. Now you get an email that's a subject line. Dustin McClone, 720-660-3202 mobile. Shit, what's this? Right? It's like, this is different.
It's different.
It's to the point. Yeah. And then I open the email. Hey, Matt, it's Dustin. We're connected through, you were a guest on Hustle Mindset. Hey, I've got an idea I wanted to get your opinion on. Give me a call on my mobile with your mobile. I'm going to click on it 85% of the time, unless I'm on fire or a loved one is in the hospital, right? Or I'm on the Hustle Mindset podcast right now. I'm going to click on that and probably call you back and go, hey, I just got you. It's Matt Easton. I just got your email. What's up? Right now, here's the other thing. And we don't have time probably to get into this in this episode today, but don't freaking ruin my rep, guys. If you're watching this and you're not a member to Easton University, don't freaking ruin this for everybody else. Okay. I'm going to say this. I am a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Okay. I'm not bragging. It is true. It is the hardest thing to earn in all of martial arts. Okay. Unless you are a black belt in jiu-jitsu, I will disable you from your consciousness in 14 seconds or less. I'm not making physical threats to anybody. All I'm saying is this: don't freaking mess this up for all of us. They will call you back. When they call you back, the idea best not be, hey, if I could just have 5 minutes of your time, I'd love to show you how we can decrease your blah, blah, blah. Man, same tonality. Solely Sullivan. Man, Chris, thank you. Thank you so much for calling me back. So, hey, I was thinking about you guys. There's something that we're seeing in the industry. Listen, I wanted to get your opinion on it because, first off, I don't even know if you guys are aware this is happening. I'd love to throw some ideas of, that would be helpful for you, but I'd love to get your feedback on it so I could take it back to my clients. Here's something that's going on. Let's say I'm selling advertising. What our clients are seeing is the way Meta has changed things, the way Google has changed this, really hard to target. And businesses like yours, what they're seeing is their cost per click is going way up, but the lead score has gone way down and the teams aren't getting as good of leads as they used to. And I was just curious to get your opinion. Are you guys seeing that? Well, a little bit. When you say a little bit, can you give me a specific example of what's going on? Right. And then also, guys, if like, let's say you are in advertising, there should be some tips you can give them that would be helpful to them, whether they signed up with you or not. Right. Meaning, here's one of the things I want you to go into. If you, whoever's managing this is full disclosure, this is what we do, right? We're the best in the world at doing this, but whether you have us do it or you do it yourself, one of the things you should do is go into your dashboard and look for this particular setting. It's a new setting. Slide that over to the left. You're going to see that it's going to basically tighten up that lead score for you. Hey, by the way, just out of curiosity, does it make sense? I'd love to swing by the office. We could talk about some more of this kind of stuff, but I'd love to kind of work through some of this, maybe take a look at your campaigns, see if we could even help you tune them up. That would only be, 15, 20 minutes. And at the end of that, you're going to get some more kind of free good stuff from me. And I'll be the first one to raise my hand if it's not a fit and we can't help you. But does it make sense for us to schedule time to do more of a formal deep dive? Right? No. Got it. What's a good next step then? Right? I don't want to do a deep dive. My partner's Dustin. We need you. How do we sign up for your services? I just gave you guys another golden nugget, right? Like far too often when people tell us no, we think it means the what? The worst.
Forever, yeah.
Yeah. Ask, what's a good next step then? Hey, does it make sense to schedule a lunch and learn? No. Hey, got it. What's a good next step then? Well, I don't want to do a lunch and learn, man. I run 2 companies. I trust you. I know, Chris, just talking to you right now, this is something I want to do. How do I get started? Right? Congratulations. You made a great decision. What happens next? Bum, bum, bum. It's another great thing. What happens next? You guys should be saying this all the time. What happens next? And then let them know what happens next. There's ways they can change their life. Should we teach them how to close? Because we kind of just went through it, but Chris, we skipped over it. All right.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. And I talk to people all the time. Like, we don't need sales coaching or for groups, and individual people are like, well, I like your stuff, but I don't really need a sales coach. Right. And I'm like, okay, cool. What do you say to close? And the common answer, you know what the most common answer is? It's not that simple. Bullshit. Closing is the most simple thing out there. Like my good friend played quarterback in the NFL for 18 years, greatest player to ever play the game, right? Like, he's not the best physical specimen in the world. I'm not going to say his name, but he would agree with me on that. He's a stud, but he's not a physical specimen. It's because he has a game plan. It's because he understands things. It's because he knows, hey, I'm looking 52 is Mike. That's Ray Lewis. I don't want my neck broken again. Omaha, which basically meant whatever I told you guys to do in the huddle, we're not doing that. Right? Because I don't need Ray Lewis killing me, right? But this is the professional athletes, professional singers, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, everybody that's good at doing what they do could tell you, if I ask, well, what do you say to do that? Boom, this is what I do. What do you do when this happens? This is what I do. What do you do when you notice the defense lined up like that? 3-step drop, either throw it to Demarius or freaking get rid of the ball. Right? Like, if you are answering closing is not that simple, you are not a professional. You are an amateur. Okay. Now let me teach you how to close so you can answer this question from now on. Okay. First thing, and I learned this at about 12 years old from a mentor, never relegate your life to a coin flip. Guy whipped out a coin. He's like, you ever ask your mom for money? And I'm like, yeah, all the time. He's like, how does that go for you? I'm like, not good. My mom doesn't have any money. Right? And he's like, it doesn't matter if your mom had money or not. It's the way you're asking. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, how do you ask her? And I'm like, Mom, can I have $1? And he's like, there's your problem. He goes, never ask an all or nothing request. Chris, can we set up a meeting? Dustin, do you want to sign the contract? Mom, can I have $1? Because those questions all end in a yes or a no answer, meaning you have relegated your life to a coin flip. You're either going to get all of what you want, yay, or none of what you want, oh, which is why kids sit in the middle of aisle of Walmart and Target going, why not, Mom? And they throw fits because they have no control. Their life is a coin flip. Okay. So here's the thing. That's rule number 1. Don't ask all or nothing requests. Don't relegate your life to a coin flip. Rule number 2, I'm dropping bombs for non-members right now. You guys are welcome. EastonUniversity.com members are going to kill me on this. Rule number 2, in life, you are exponentially more likely to get somebody to do the thing you want them to do if it's based on their reasons. The more it is, this is jujitsu, of which I am a black belt. A lot of jujitsu is the same as life and business. The more I push on Dustin, the more Dustin is going to push on me back. So if I need Dustin to sign a contract with me and I'm like, come on, man, you got to do it. I'll give you 25% off. We can sign this week. We can get this done by the end of the quarter. I'm going to give you some special promotions. The more I push on Dustin, the more Dustin is going to push away. This also works in your personal life. Hey, could we have dinner together? You're really hot. Man, I just love to have lunch with you. Please, come on, if you're not doing anything. Slapped, restraining order. Same thing with your kids if you've got kids, right? Dude, I need you to do your homework before hockey practice. No, Dad, I'm too tired. The more you push on somebody, even when it's the right thing to do, buy from you, promote you, go on a date with you, do their homework, the more you make it about you and your reasons, the less they're going to want to do it. Okay? So I have to not relegate my life to a coin flip. I have to ask the question in a way where the person is doing it for their own reasons. And lastly, if I'm at the black belt level, I'm going to ask you questions I cannot get a rejection on. How can I do all of those in one simple way? And that is this. I am going to ask you if you think it makes sense. Let's check the boxes. If you say no to does it make sense, you're essentially saying not right now because I've asked you a timing question. There's no way for you to reject me. If you say no to does it make sense, you have not said no to the thing I want. So I haven't relegated my life to a coin flip. And if you say yes or no to does it make sense, the very act of me asking you if you think it makes sense mentally and psychologically in your head, it is now your decision and you are in control and I'm not pushing you. So here's how we're going to close from now on. Does it make sense to blank? Hey, Dustin, does it make sense to get your team on Easton University? Hey, Chris, I notice there's a new regional manager position available. Does it make sense to put me in that role? Right? Hey, Dustin, I'd love to do a 20-minute lunch and learn with your team. Does it make sense to schedule one of those? Right? There's no wrong answer there. Hey, Dustin, does it make sense for you to grab the membership to Easton University? Yes. Congratulations. You made a great decision. What happens next? You're just going to go over to eastonuniversity.com, click the membership. Right? What happens next? Hey, Dustin, does it make sense for you to become a member of Easton University? No. Listen, you haven't rejected me on becoming a member. So I can go, I don't have to say, why not? I never say, what do I need to do to get your business? Hey, Dustin, does it make sense to become a member at Easton University? No. Got it. What's a good next step then? And I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let you answer. Right? That may be, guys, member, it's not as bad as you think sometimes. Well, I don't want to become a member. I want my whole team to become a member. Right? Exactly. This is the kind of stuff that happens, exactly. Right? And if I say, does it make sense for you to become a member to Easton University? And you say no, and I go, well, what do I need to do to get your business? I just blew up a massive, I'm going to bring 100-person team deal because you're like, oh my God, right? Nobody wants to buy this stuff. Stay cool, stay calm. Sully Sullivan, land the damn plane on the water. Hey, Dustin, does it make sense to become a member to Easton University? No. Got it. What's a good next step then? What's the worst thing that you could say? I don't know. Cheat codes, guys, I'm giving you to life. When they say, I don't know, you have to ask the question globally first. What's a good next step then? But realize this, people love to boss other people around. It's in our nature, right? We are predators, man. We want to tell other people what to do, right? We're locked up and we're tired of everybody telling us what to do. I want to tell somebody else what to do, right? So you can leverage that by pointing the damn question back at yourself. And I just went through with a Fortune 500 company. This morning, we did our training and they're like, well, I don't feel comfortable pointing the question at myself. It wouldn't work. And I'm like, okay, cool. Reject me the whole way. And every time I pointed the question at myself, this poor guy kept giving me an answer. And I'm like, Todd, you have to say, I don't know, or I need to think about it. And he's like, well, I can't. It sounds like this. Hey, Dustin, does it make sense to activate your membership to Easton University? No. Got it. What's a good next step then? I don't know. Makes sense. What's a good next step on my end? And this Todd guy was like, well, call me tomorrow. Perfect. I'll call you. Next step obsessed, guys. NSO. Perfect. I'll call you tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. if I haven't heard from you before then. Fair enough? Yeah, it works for me. Now, this is why I can manage 2,000 opportunities because I'm just setting a next step. And now at 2:30, hey, and now, by the way, I go right back to my close at 2:30. Not how you doing, not checking in. Right? Hey, Dustin, it's Matt Easton. As promised, it's 2:30 p.m. on Wednesday. Calling to see if it makes sense to get you activated on your membership to Easton University. I'm on my mobile, 720-660-3202. This is as simple as like, so does it make sense to blank? Does it make sense to get this in front of the board? Not right now. Right? Hey, Chris, I noticed there's a new regional sales manager position available with the team. Does it make sense to put me in that role? No, Matt, it doesn't. Got it. What's a good next step then? We've only worked here for the company for 3 days. We'd like to see some more out of you. In terms of seeing more out of me, can you give me some specific examples? Yeah, well, we need you to hit your numbers for at least, call it 2 months. And then we actually have a meeting with senior leadership once a quarter. If you could put what we put together, we call it a QBR, a quarterly business review, and present that to the group, right? At the next QBR, typically we save that for kind of elite level people. But if you want, I'll give you the opportunity to present. Yeah, I would love that. When's the next QBR, right? That's going to happen August 11th. Got it. Do you need anything before from me to secure my slot to present? Do you need my deck ahead of time? Nope. The only thing I need you to do is call Sally, let her know right now that you're going to have 15-minute slot on the August 11th meeting. Perfect. I will work on getting my numbers. No problem on that. And then I will be presenting to the group my QBR on August 11th. I'm going to call Sally. She's going to get me on the slot. Yeah, Matt, cool. Hey, good stuff, brother. Right? Like you can go through life. It's really easy. Does it make sense to blank? And then if they say no, I don't know, I need to think about it. Not right now. Got it. What's a good next step then? And shut up. If they still say, I don't know, what's a good next step on my end, or what's a good next step for me? If they still say, I don't know at that point, I'm giving you permission to set a next step. Dustin, you be my guinea pig here. Okay. And don't be Todd from the other call. Okay. I know you're going to want to give me an answer. Don't do it. Just say, I don't know all the way through. Right. Hey, Dustin, does it make sense to activate your membership to Easton University?
I don't know.
What's a good next step then?
I don't know.
Makes sense. What's a good next step on my end?
I don't really know.
I get it. It's an important decision. Based on everything you're telling me, it seems like a good fit for you. But again, only you can make that decision. How about we do this, Dustin? It is Tuesday. We do this. I'll call you Thursday at 3:00 if I haven't heard from you before then. Fair enough?
I don't know.
Well, normally they wouldn't say. You're a good.
There's no way they would say. That's what I'm saying. There's no way they would say that. I'm just. Right. I had to give you hell.
Right, but now I'm gonna give you. Omaha. Right, Omaha. Ray Lewis. No, but here's the thing. So now notice what I did there at the end, because all this stuff is like multi-million. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but this is literally like multi-million-dollar advice. Notice what I did there. You can make any statement in life if you put fair enough at the end of it. I just want you guys to hear the difference here. Well, Dustin, I'll call you Thursday at 2:30. Period. Full stop. You're like, the hell you will, right? I'm not answering. Quit trying to force your way. Now just listen to the difference. I'm going to only make 2 changes. I'm going to change my tonality, and I'm going to put fair enough at the end of it. Here's why you want to put the fair enough at the end of all of your statements, okay? You're putting a parachute on the back of that person. People feel more comfortable when wearing a parachute. What do I mean by that? If I paint you into a corner and you feel like there's no ripcord for you to pull, for you to get out of there, you're going to fight me, right? But if I slap this parachute on your back and go, hey, Dustin, anytime you want to eject from this conversation, just pull your ripcord, right? Dude, I'm not going to bother you, is the same way. And I can't say that because that sounds weird. But what I can say is fair enough, right? So if I'm going to make any statement, and by the way, guys, if you're watching this episode, start making statements that are a lot more aggressive than you normally would have. Meaning, if you were going to say you're going to call Dustin 2 weeks from now, because that's your normal thing, say you'll call Dustin later this afternoon, but just put fair enough at the end of it. Because worst case, Dustin's going to go, no, that doesn't work for me. And you're going to go, okay, well, then when should I call you? Right? It sounds like this. Hey, Dustin, I'll call you Thursday at 2:30 p.m. Listen to how I sound like I'm trying to find the words, which, by the way, guys, this is not a defect in my brain. I know exactly what I'm going to say, but I'm purposely slowing down. Okay. I'm purposely sounding like I'm thinking about it because I want to convey that I give a crap, right? Versus, hey, Dustin, I'll call you 2:30 on Thursday, pal. Right? That is, you smell that? Oh God, commission breath, right? But this is an actual person who cares. Dustin, no, I totally get it. How about we do this? I'll call you Tuesday at 2:30 if I haven't heard from you before then. Fair enough? You're going to be shocked at how, when you put the fair enough, how often the person goes, no, that doesn't work, right? And just mirror them. Yeah. That doesn't work. Yeah, man, I really don't want to do another callback. Ideally, what I'd like to do is just get the team totally signed up. I'm convinced. Is there a link where we could sign them up? And we say that kiddingly, like, but you're going to be shocked. The listeners are going to be shocked. The viewers are going to be shocked. Over 20% of the time that you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to get this deal. The reason why they're giving you pushback, let me grab a whiteboard here. The reason why they're giving you pushback, oh my God, I'm dropping bombs for non-members here. The reason why they're giving you pushback, this is your freaking sales process, okay? Start, end. The reason why they're giving you pushback is you are here in your sales process. They are here. They want to buy. You're not caught up. That's why when you say, hey, does it make sense to schedule a lunch and learn? 20% of the time, the reason why they're saying no is because they just want to buy from you. They don't want free Chipotle. To which is why you need to slow the hell down and ask them, got it, what's a good next step then? Was there any way we can just, and by the way, this sounds crazy, but you guys are business owners. How many times have you been like, dude, I need this. We need this for the podcast. I need this lighting equipment. I need this contract with Riverside. I don't want free Chipotle from Riverside or whatever, whoever it is, right? I just want the high bandwidth. And it's like, if they would just shut the hell up for a second and let me buy, I could go about my day. I got Matt Easton, that badass guy on the podcast. And he slow down and go, got it. What's a good next step then? Let them drive. And you're going to find most of the time, they're right at the finish line, right? Like just slow down.
Excellent.
Matt, from a leadership standpoint, if you're a CEO or you're maybe VP of sales, you lead a massive team, how do you implement this from a cultural standpoint internally? Is it the same or is it different?
It is the same and it's different. It's the same system, okay? Whether it's the Easton University system or you create your own or you find one like mine that's simple to understand. I haven't found one yet. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I haven't found one, but you have to, and I hate to keep using football references, but like the NFL, you have to go, this is our playbook, guys. All these, they give athletes such a hard time. Jocks. Hell, the jocks know to be next step obsessed. Jocks know how to follow a plan. The jocks know that, hey, if we're on third down and the defense looks like this, I'm going to throw the ball away and punt and get another chance. I'm not going to do something stupid and have freaking Deion Sanders intercepting me and running it to the end zone, right? It's so funny that we give athletes a hard time, yet they follow a damn process, don't they? So from a leadership standpoint, you better get yourself an offense, get yourself a playbook, okay? Get everybody on the same page, and you're not. Some of these leaders are like, yeah, we are. Okay, all right, pal, let's take the Pepsi challenge. Go to all of your employees right now and go, what do you say when you answer the phone? If you hear any derivation of, I don't know, or it depends, you don't have a playbook. What do you say to close a deal? I don't know. It depends. Right? You don't have a playbook. What do you do? How do you know the difference between an objection and a complaint? Which, by the way, I'm dropping more bombs for non-members. 90% of the things people face out there that they've been taught to overcome objections, complete garbage. 90% of the things you're facing in your career, guys, are not objections. An objection needs to be handled or addressed in order for you to get that deal. 90% of the things you're hearing from your clients and your customers are complaints. You got to stop trying to win every argument with clients and customers. Just because they're complaining about your dashboard or your pricing or the fact that you don't have real-time reporting doesn't mean they don't want to do business with you. You know, if I had to solve every complaint my beautiful, super dope, amazing wife Heather had about me, I would have never got a first date with her, right? You don't need to be perfect to get their business. You don't need to be perfect to get a date with somebody, okay? But when you sit there and go, well, you don't need real-time reporting, and you try and overcome the objection, you've now walked yourself into an argument. But again, back to leaders. If they don't know how to skillfully, hey, boss, dude, first of all, 90% of the time, it's not an objection at all. It's just a complaint. Here's the steps that I do to know whether or not it's a complaint. Like, first off, I just agree with them and move forward, right? Wish you had dashboard reporting. I get it. I hear you, right? Does it make sense to move forward with the contract? Yeah, it does. Right? Like if they can't articulate what's in your damn playbook, you don't have a system. Okay. So at that point, get a system. And then as a leader, it is your job to make sure that people are following the system. Okay. And there's certain things, and when I talk to leaders, there's certain things that they don't even realize they're doing. For example, like if Dustin's my boss, no offense, Dustin, I'm not saying you do this, but you probably do, because I do it as well. Leaders accidentally create cultures where people don't want to close business. What do I mean by that? We constantly have these weekly sales meetings, weekly sales calls, right? And what's worse than not closing a deal? What's worse than not closing a deal is getting on the weekly sales call and going, Dustin, I went for it with every deal and everybody told me, no, I suck at my job, right? Yet every employee feels that way. This is why they make up bull crap in their weekly sales calls. This is why 60 to 70% of their pipeline in their salesforce.com is complete garbage and doesn't exist, because their leader created a culture where there is a currency in having garbage opportunities in your pipeline. And Chris can keep his job if he has a pipeline full of a bunch of garbage. That would not work in the NFL. Okay. What I want as a leader is, hey, Chris, dude, if you have 0 deals in your pipeline, thank you for being honest with me. Let me show you a 3-step formula for calling everybody you're connected to on LinkedIn. By the way, let's bring in our coach, Matt. Coach Matt, show them how to make calls. Sure, Chris, no problem. Let them know who you are, how you're connected, and you've got an idea you have opinion on. I want you to make 100 of those dials this week. Report back to me how it's going. Man, it's going great. Now I've solved the problem. But unfortunately, most of the salespeople out there, they probably are on one right now, not even listening, waiting for their time to report their numbers, and they're reporting SPOTA, not quota. That's supposed to come in next week, Dustin. Chris, that's supposed to come in next month. Next quarter, we're finally going to get the Acme deal. Got it. What's the next step in that? Why aren't they closing right now? Right? What is the next time you're going to call them? What are you going to say when you're going to close? As a leader, if you're not able to call the play, check on the play, you're not a leader at that point. In a lot of ways, and I hate to say it, I tell it like it is. I'm not for everybody, but for the people that want to cut through the bull crap, I'm great for them. In a lot of ways, the things that leaders are doing are counterintuitive to the results we want. Like, for example, I'm going to give Chris a title of relationship manager. And I'm telling Chris it's all about the relationship, but yet I'm holding Chris accountable to closing deals. Which is it? Those two aren't the same, right? I have to be crystal clear what the expectation is for Chris. Chris, the expectation is I need you to create 5 new deals a day. Chris, the expectation is I'm going to have you close 5 deals a week. If you're not doing that, that's on me. If you're following the process, we've got a guy, Matt, that we hired that's doing the process. Guess what? He gets fired if you're not performing. Not you, Chris, but here's what I need you to do. I need you to trust the process. I need you to follow the process. And when the process doesn't work, I need you to raise your hand and go, I'm confused. This isn't working. And guess what? You will never get. I have a policy with all my companies that I own, and I try and meet with every employee personally. And this may sound harsh when I meet with them, but I always say this, hey, you might not see me around a lot, but here's the deal. As the senior most person at this company, I'm going to make you a couple promises here. Okay, if you try and you screw up and you do it wrong, you will not get fired. As long as you raise your hand and go, hey, here's what I did, and you have an open mind, you allow us to work with you and fix it. If you do not try, if you avoid taking that chance, which is back to our hustle mindset, you will lose your job faster than you can say, I quit, right? We're going to let you go. And I just want to be crystal clear on that. Nobody gets fired here for doing it wrong. Everybody gets fired for not doing it. And that is counterintuitive to all these Fortune 500 companies that I worked for. It was like, keep your head down. Don't make any waves. Just don't do too much because they're going to raise your quota, right? This is just bad. That is cancer, man. Leaders need to make sure that they are weeding that out.
That's excellent.
I love that. Matt, before we let you go, you got to tell me about the UFC gloves you have framed in a shadow box behind you. I know you're a jiu-jitsu guy.
Yep.
Tell me about your affinity for UFC.
So my affinity for UFC, shout out to Easton Training Center. That's not me. It's a different Easton, Amal Easton. But I got into jiu-jitsu for a lot of the same fundamentals as the Hustle Mindset podcast. Scared that I watched a show called Tap Out a long time ago, 15 years ago. There was a guy, Donald Cerrone, who became my friend, Cowboy Cerrone, if you guys have ever heard of, on that show. And I was like, damn it, this guy kind of looks like me. He's skinny, he's cool, he's articulate, right? He's handsome. And I had always gotten beat up as a kid, right? And I'm like, gosh, darn it, this guy Donald looks a lot like I look. And I noticed the place where he was training was right by my house. And I kid you not, guys, I'm going to be honest. I went to the parking lot 7 times. And I parked my car and I got out, and there was like, it was this place, we called it the favela. You just search Matt Easton black belt speech and you can hear about the favela, right? Elliot Marshall, former UFC fighter, will talk about the favela. That favela was so scary because that's the ghetto in Portuguese. It was so scary. 7 times I was afraid to walk in there. 7 times I got back in my car like a chicken and left. I finally went through the door and they're like, welcome, welcome, put on these funky pajamas. And now here's where my whole life changed. And this is where my sales coaching got exponentially better. Jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts is exactly like sales. When you are just angry, when you are just motivated, when you're just, you are getting knocked out. When you have a process, when you trust a process, when you follow that process, you will become world champion of the world. Okay. And this is where I learned from jiu-jitsu every time, still as a black belt. I learned every day. Follow the process. Don't follow your emotions. If Chris does this, no problem. I'm going to react this way. Dustin does this, I'm going to react this way. Have purpose, have reason for doing everything. And that's where jiu-jitsu has changed my life. I've had neck surgeries. I'm not trying to scare anybody from jiu-jitsu. Do it. It's great. You won't get hurt. Well, you might. But I've had neck surgeries. I've had knee surgeries. I keep coming back because of that. It is a manifestation. The sales process, sales coaching, and fighting coaching is a microcosm for life itself. When you slow down in the beginning, you will speed up the result in the end. If you're next step obsessed, you will get your way most of the time. Not all of your time, but most of the time. When you follow a process, you will get your way. When people do things for their reasons, not your reasons, you will get your way. By the way, that's jiu-jitsu. In a nutshell, that's jiu-jitsu. I'm going to do something to Chris's arm that's going to cause him pain. And for his reasons, he's going to pull his arm out, allowing me to choke his neck, and the fight's over. But Chris decided to give me his neck. Fighting is not about, I'm going to force my way in there. I'm going to do specific things in a specific way at a specific time that is going to allow Chris to go to take a little nap, whether he likes it or not. But a good fighter, that other person is the one dictating where this goes. But the end result is what I wanted. A bad fighter is going to go in there and try and force their way. This is why me at 50 years old, 172 pounds, I can train with a Division I collegiate some of the time, most of the time. I hate wrestlers, but I can train with somebody as a high school wrestler. I can train with somebody that's 85 pounds bigger than me, pure muscle and 20 years old. And I have a very high propensity for winning because they're trying to force their way. And I'm just following a process, Hey, I'm going to do this. Yeah. And what are you going to, I'm going to get on top of you and I'm going to mess with your face. What are you going to do? You don't like that. So you're going to turn over. Oh, great. Now you're turned over. Cool. I'm going to mess with your arm. What are you going to do? You're going to move your arm. Oh, great. I'm going to now choke you unconscious. Like fighting and sales are the exact same thing. Now the difference is I'm making Chris go to sleep versus with sales. The difference is Chris is going to help his business, but there's a key point that we got to leave everybody with sales. Most of the time, 90+% of the time, you have to save your prospects from themselves. They're not going to want to go down this road. Same way Chris does not want to get choked out, but you can help their business. This policy will help this family. This software will help this operation, but they're going to fight you every step of the way. The same way Chris is going to fight me if we are in a physical fight. The difference is in both cases, the similarity is in both cases, I'm not going to force my way on Chris, whether this is a physical fight or not. I'm going to do specific things at a specific time that gets Chris to go, you know what? You're right. Let's, you know what? It does make sense. I want to do this. Let's do this. I want to do the whole life for my family. I want to do this. Right. But the more you go in there and you're spazzing, you try and force your way, the more they're like, dude, don't ever call me again. So it's fighting and sales and life share about 98% of the same DNA. We are all very closely related.
Awesome. Matt, I'd love to continue the conversation, but this is already a record long episode for us because you've just been dropping so much knowledge. I wanted to just let you go. Our listeners are going to love it. So thank you. But
listeners, let them know you love it. If you want me back, I'm happy to come back.
Oh, you'll be back on the invite list for sure.
Good.
Where can we find you? What else do you have going on?
Yeah, eastonuniversity.com is where you can find me. On the social platforms, I have many accounts, but most of my accounts are at Easton University. They can call our offices anytime. My people are in a hurry to help. 800-628-1456. And my wife's going to kill me. But she said it last night at dinner. She's like, you need friends other than the people with the messed up ears that fight in the UFC. I'd like to be your friend. Let me give your listeners my personal mobile. Okay. Call me, text me. You need anything. 720-660-3202. Please. This is my actual mobile phone. So there you go. I like to hang out with people like you, Chris. I like to hang out with people like you, Dustin. I know that your listeners are very similar to you, so I have no problems giving them my mobile, 720-660-3202.
We love the business acumen.
Fantastic.
That was so much fun. Thank you for joining us today. For all the listeners tuning in, we appreciate your ears. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Thank you for being part of the Hustle Nation. If you're serious about raising the bar in your personal and professional life and willing to go all in on your success, head over to hustleleaders.com. Here you can get access to our Hustle Productivity ebook, attend our Hustle Masterclass, or challenge yourself to the 30-day Hustle Challenge. Pairing these tools and training with the Hustle Nation podcast will help you advance to a whole new level. Until next time, stay hungry and inspire those around you to hustle.